AI learns insane Monopoly strategies. All right, let's get started.
Monopoly,
Oh, hey,
a
Dan.
game that is fun for all ages and is a staple of many people's childhoods. This iconic game gave some people their best memories.
I love this game,
their
and I
worst.
hate it.
Whether or not you look back on it fondly, the question has probably crossed your mind.
He's British. I could hear it. The question is probably crossed your mind. Nothing wrong with British people.
What is the best way to win at Monopoly? Let's break this game down and see what we can find. The first thing you'll notice about Monopoly is that it isn't chess. You just aren't in control of everything you play.
That's such a weird thing to say. That's like saying the first thing you notice about Pokemon is that it's not Yu-Gi-Oh! No, that's not the first thing I notice.
It does. In fact, when it comes to the movement of your piece, you have next to no influence on where the player can end up, which is determined solely by dice. Yes, you can exert some control over when you leave jail.
Bro, I know how to play Monopoly. Everyone knows how to play Monopoly.
You must make this. The chance that you roll a double goes up the longer you spend in jail.
What? The chance you roll a double goes up the longer you oh yeah, that makes sense.
This means that you are more likely to move. Monopoly involves luck, and the key to playing it better is understanding how to be more lucky.
I feel like he's trying to be very like clever and specific, but this is just like, get it. Show us how the AI learns the strats. I want to know, okay?
The most efficient way to win at Monopoly is to build properties on sets. This increases the fine your opponents have to pay,
Yes.
and in turn, makes you more likely to win. Each set on the board has a different cost depending on how much money it makes back. Simply put, the more expensive the cost, the more expensive the fine.
More
This
money
can make it
equals
unclear
more
to which set is the best, which if you want to play the game better, is definitely something you should know.
Better.
To find out, we're going to introduce bot number 1. It buys everything, trades nothing, likes to build houses, and mortgages only when it needs to. I placed 4 of these bots onto
That's like every player. What?
the board and made them play a million games. This is what happened.
Oh, this is cool.
Here
Wait,
are
this is
the win rates
actually
based
cool.
on who went first, second, third, or fourth. You can see that players who go first have a slight advantage over players that go after.
Damn.
This isn't news to anyone.
That's a big advantage. 5% versus the last player. Bro.
What was surprising about this is how unfair. In a game of 3 players, this difference jumps to 80%, and with 2, it's 57%. Most of the games between these bots ended in a stalemate.
What? Wait, so how many games is this based off of? If most games ended up in Bruh. He said he did 1 million games, but then he just said most of the games ended in stalemate. If most of the games ended in stalemate out of 1 million games, why would you show us the probabilities of the ones that came out with outcomes of wins and losses? I mean, it's fine, but at least tell us what was the percent spread with the stalemates too. Like, factor that in. Because that actually shows you if whoever goes first has a bigger advantage or not. That's so dumb. Oh, he does say it. Does he say it?
Stalemates happen 70% of the time with 4 players.
Oh, okay.
They also happen 42% of the time.
Oh, he does
with
say
3
it. Okay,
players,
never mind.
and 4% of the time with 2. This was mainly because none of them would trade. When there was only 1 player in the game, stalemates happened 100% of the time. This is the main reason you should join my Discord, because even numbers show that life is more fun with others.
Oh, okay.
If we analyze the squares of the bots landed
Good
on the
plug.
most,
Oh, I get it. He plugged his Discord. So he plugged. That was actually clever. That took me like 20 seconds to figure out.
players often find themselves behind bars.
That
In
makes
fact, the jail
sense.
tile is so frequently landed on that the locations that precede it land more players simply by being nearby.
That
Another
makes
thing we can
sense
see is the
too.
fall off that occurs as we go further through the tile.
I'll translate because he's speaking British. Basically, you know, you go to jail a lot because of the cards and stuff. And then because you're in jail, you come out and you land on these tiles more because it's close to the jail. So, you're welcome.
This makes properties at the end of the board harder to reach. Except for Mayfair, of course.
What's
or
Mayfair?
Boardwalk, or the Rue de l'Ever, or whatever you want to call it.
Boardwalk. I'm in America.
Which
I
set
guess
is
so.
the best. To figure that out, we're
Which
going to
set
introduce
is
a new
the
metric,
best?
the relative win rate. This metric will show us how likely the tile in
I feel like I'm in statistics class now and he didn't get to the point yet.
First place, we have the dark blues, comfortably ahead of the others.
What? It's the easiest to land on the dark blues?
This is no surprise.
Did I?
Place. Using this new metric, assets acquired from bankrupt set
Oh, you get the relative win rate. Oh, so you're more likely to win if you have boardwalk and stuff.
In second place, we have
Really?
the Browns.
The Browns.
Browns.
Hey, I'm brown. That's racist.
Somehow the worst set on the board is now the second best set on the board.
That doesn't make sense.
In a game without trades, getting a set is extremely difficult.
This is a game without trades. Okay, that makes more sense because it's easier to get a set there and make money. Okay.
If the brown set is the second best set on the board, then you know you're not playing Monopoly right. And yeah, we aren't trading anything. Without it, the game is essentially a race to see who can get the first set, if any. With this in mind,
look how many times hotels are on the brown.
New AI.
Jesus, I can't pause on it.
Learns how to play the game perfectly.
What? What? What the? I feel like I'm losing brain cells. What just happened? Oh. What? Am I watching a different video? What is this? What? Huh? Is this an ad?
Possible AI
should have
can use a
done
game
that.
badly to a terrible one through bad luck. Just because $100 was won on a slot machine doesn't mean that the best strategy is to keep playing. It is for this reason that the good strategies must be recognized by playing a large number of games.
Yes.
This should allow for a fair comparison.
This is basic statistics. Get to the point, sir. I took stat class, okay?
We are going to introduce an algorithm called NEAT, which stands for Neuroevolution of Augmenting Topologies. This algorithm combines neural networks with basic evolutionary principles. Information comes into the network from the input neurons and passes out of it via the output neurons. This is where we come in. For Monopoly, we need an input for every piece of information on the board and an output for all the different actions we can take, which as it turns out is quite a large set.
Bro, I feel like the first half of this video was him literally just being like, okay guys, 1 + 1 = 2. Now, don't forget that if you have one object and you have another object and you add them together, it becomes 2. And then the second half of the video is literally like,
well, if you take the square root of 78 times 2 to the 5th power.
like, what's going on here?
5 hours later.
Finally, we are able to run the algorithm. Speaking
Okay,
of which,
run it. Run the algorithm.
let's
Yes, that makes sense. Oh, that's all the code?
run it.
He ran the algorithm.
AI played 11.2 million games against itself to reach this point, which if it was a human, would have taken about 1600 years.
Well, that's not
At
that
this
bad.
point, it's basically the god of Monopoly. So, the only question to answer
Ooh.
now is, how did God learn Monopoly? The first thing that AI learned was that paying for jail is bad, and favoured cards and rolling dice. That was a great idea, said the AI.
Oh,
You know what else
cards
is a
are
good
better
idea?
than dice?
Bidding $3,000 on every property. And so it did just that, and lost horribly most of the time. After that, it soon discovered building houses and unmortgaging, and put them to good use.
Ooh,
As the AI
interesting.
progressed, it began to start making more sensible decisions. It was becoming aggressive when it was winning, and passive when it was losing. This is when weird things started to happen. The AI then said, you know what, I figured it out, and started mortgaging everything it owned, without exception. And
What?
that's it. This strategy guaranteed a win every time. Monopoly has been, I'm just kidding, this obviously doesn't
Oh,
work.
I was
What
like,
happened
what the
instead is
hell?
that every single game ended in a draw. This, however, didn't last long. You know what's better than altruism? Winning. The AI paid off its insanely high debt to the bank and started winning again, re-enabling its sophisticated strategies from before. It also began to actively trade properties, and well too.
He's banging
I couldn't
its head,
find a
it's
single
getting
trade that was uneven. At this point, the AI had progressed to the strength of an average human player, and played like one
Oh,
too.
that's cool.
That's when the AI decided to pull its most spectacular trick out of the bag. Auction everything, and bid next to nothing.
What?
I have no words for this. Nevertheless,
Bro, he made a bad AI.
its deep understanding of the game had become very apparent. Here is our final trading AI's favourite properties, in all their glory. We can see here that it's
Why would I trust this AI if it's freaking... He didn't teach it. He's a bad parent. This is bad AI.
its love for the Browns has evaporated.
I learned
and now
nothing.
The orange set stands as its favourite. It also loves trains, with the first train being its favourite property in the entire game. The red and purple sets are also well liked. The AI also seems to really enjoy Mayfair. Other than that, we can see that the other properties are pretty equal in terms of preference. And that's it. 2 weeks of training to agree with human theory. Nice to know that we aren't that bad at games, after all.
No, you just made a terrible AI. What? This is terrible. How does this have 2 million views? Well, I mean, we watched the whole thing, but...
Like, comment, and subscribe!
Put the raw chicken in the salad. I mean, that's what I feel, yes.